Now, from the news team that's covering the Carolinas, this is Channel 9 Eyewitness News at 10.
And tonight, breaking news in Uptown Charlotte. In the last 90 minutes, gunshots rang out just feet from the epicenter and a person was killed after peaceful protesting erupted into crowds pushing through the streets and blocking traffic, even police cruisers.
And that shift forced officers to once again bring out their tactical gear, and our crews were there on the ground the moment those deafening shots went off.
Over to this side. Looks like they have dispersed. Yeah, we got something louder going on here. Come up to this car. Get up under this car. Okay. Shots fired. Shots fired.
Tonight, Chief Kurt Putney confirmed one person was shot and killed.
And you just saw all that chaos. As a result, we've moved all of our crews out of Uptown Charlotte for safety reasons tonight. Chopper 9 Sky Zoom still flying over Uptown, and you're looking live at these images right now, and you see officers there in that tactical gear, and they are forming that line across the road.
We have seen tear gas fired once again tonight. Some very frightening moments that played out tonight in the center of our city. Thank you for joining us. I'm Scott Wickersham.
I'm Erica Bryant. Now, we've been covering this major story for you. It's impacting people all across Charlotte, and we've been on this for more than 30 hours now. We have several crews who were out as those protests got bigger and bigger, and they moved across the city. And again, we have brought all of our crews back into the station here for safety reasons. We want to bring you coverage, but of course, safety first. We want to start now our coverage with Eyewitness News reporter Paul Boyd.
He was with our security expert Ross Bulla. We were in Uptown, and they were recording that video when the shots were fired. They're now in the breaking news center with more about what they saw and heard.
Yeah, we were just feet away, guys, and what happened is, I guess we were interviewing somebody as this protest unfolded, and sure enough, as they pushed into the street, we witnessed the shooting from about 50 feet away take place. Ross, I want to talk us through exactly what happened. This is the moment we were interviewing her.
Yeah, this is the moment we saw the crowd running toward us. So, Paul, I had you basically crouch down onto the ground so that we wouldn't get trampled. We moved over to safety. We heard the gunshots. I think they're coming up here shortly.
Someone was brandishing a gun up the street, and here's the moment.
All right, and it was shortly thereafter that we realized that there was someone on the pavement.
So what Ross did, he's a trained EMT medic. He actually went towards the gunshot victim, and what did you see?
So I went into the crowd, tried to work my way into the victim. I was actually able to make contact with the victim. I'm not going to go into any graphic detail, Paul, but it was obvious that he was mortally wounded. Trying to render aid, I was threatened. The crowd became violent, started to fight with me, and so I had to retreat.
And we backed up at that point. But what's interesting, and there's another camera angle we're going to show you in a little bit, it shows that the police were only a few feet away from the shooting, but they didn't realize the man was shot because they were around a corner.
That's right.
So we actually had to tell the police there was a shooting. You went up and told them what?
Yeah, well, I told them there were multiple shots fired. We had at least one person down who was potentially mortally wounded, and they needed to call for assistance. That's where I think we were. We retreated across the street, took cover, and it was obvious law enforcement officers were not aware of the situation.
They were standing, and again, I'm a big fan of CMPD, but they didn't realize this had happened. No one was responding to the scene in that moment, so we told them, and then the response happened.
I feel like they thought it was probably disbursement agents.
We want to show you one last time, unedited here, about 23 seconds of the moment leading up to that shooting. Take a look.
That we can do.
All right, we're going to get ourselves over to this side. Looks like they have dispersed. Yeah, we got something louder going on here. Come up to this car. Get up under this car. Okay. Shots fired. Shots fired.
And of course, Chief Kurt Putney confirming just a short time ago that that shot fired led to a man being killed. We're working for more details. We have learned that it was a civilian on civilian shooting. Right. Very important to point that out. Of course, we're working more details and we'll bring you the absolute latest as they become available. Thank you, Ross, for sharing that story. Scott, Erica, back to you.
All right, Paul and Ross, they're going to stay with us, and we're going to continue to talk to them as this breaking story unfolds tonight. We have been reaching out to Medic to try to give you a better idea of how many people were injured in all this chaos tonight.
And right now they're telling us that they have taken at least 3 people to area hospitals. They told us one was that gunshot victim you just heard us talking about. That individual has been pronounced dead. The other 2 people have non-life-threatening injuries. Medic could not tell us, though, if those injuries were those of police officers or of protesters. In the meantime, just in the past 30 minutes, we saw those officers out there still in the tactical gear, taking some people into custody in the middle of this intersection. This is right near the epicenter and the transit center, for those of you familiar with Uptown.
Now back to live pictures over Uptown Charlotte from Chopper 9 Sky Zoom. You can see police in their riot gear in the streets of Uptown. We want to reconfirm for you why we're not seeing live pictures on the ground, because we pulled all of our crews out as soon as those shots were fired, and we're learning those fatal shots were fired and a man was killed. Channel 9 pulled all of our ground crews out of Uptown. Some other people do have ground crews there, but we've decided it's just too dangerous and too hostile an environment. There you see some of the crowds that are gathered facing off. They look like they're quite a distance away from police at this point. At times, Erica, we've seen them within just a few feet of police and throwing objects at them tonight.
Well, Katz has closed down the transit center at this point. Gold Line is closed tonight. All services have been moved over to the Carson Street Station area. A note streetcar service until tomorrow. So again, officials taking the efforts that they can to try to shut this area down and get people to disperse. In the meantime, in just the past hour, the Charlotte Police Chief Kurt Putney was on national news live. He was talking with Fox News' Megyn Kelly about the protest, and we'd heard that someone had been shot, but it was on the air live that we heard him there confirm that shooting uptown is deadly.
We'll go to anchor Allison Lottis now. She's in the breaking news center with more on what we all heard and saw just a short time ago. Allison.
Well, Scott and Erica, there's still so much. We're working to learn about the man who died tonight and who fired the shots in Uptown after 8 o'clock. But we do know it was reported to be civilian on civilian. But CMPD Chief Kurt Putney confirmed live on Fox News the man did not survive that gunshot. Take a listen.
We can confirm that we have one shot who's been transported, and last information we got, that person's deceased at this point.
Again, here's what we know. That shooting happened on North College Street around 8:30 tonight, and Medic tells me they transported that man to CMC Maine, and that is where he was pronounced dead. Scott?
All right, Allison, thank you. Now, the city of Charlotte is already looking to agencies all the way up to Washington after everything that's unfolded over the last 30 hours.
And I just spoke with Mayor Jennifer Roberts in the past 30 minutes on the phone. She said that help and assistance is already on the way here from Washington.
We are urging people to stay home. We do not believe that violence is moving us forward in any way, shape, or form. Charlotte is better than this. And we are using every resource we can to bring peace back to our center city.
And that was Mayor Roberts on the phone with me a short time ago. She again told me she has been in touch with the White House and with the Department of Justice. They will have people here tomorrow from community policing from the Department of Justice who have dealt with issues just like the one we're experiencing here. She said not in the form of law enforcement, but tactical experts coming to help bring the city back together.
Also, she said she's being told that it was, again, civilian on civilian shooting that did not involve police. But again, you heard Kurt Putney there saying that person shot uptown has died tonight.
And again, very intense moments that we're watching unfold. It's why we brought our crews back here to the station tonight. Yeah,
we've got Deshaun Brown here. Second night in a row, you've been out in the thick of it, Deshaun. Second night in a row, you've had to pull back. Walk us through how things escalated and when you found out about the shots fired and then pulled out of Uptown.
Well, I mean, it started off as a peaceful protest. I think we saw that in our reporting earlier today, but it really wasn't until this crowd made its way to the epicenter that we saw things completely transition. I want to show you now some live pictures that we have from Chopper 9 Sky Zoom over the scene. You can see people are still there. And just throughout the night, this crowd got bigger and bigger. Initially, it started as a silent protest, but as the night went on, we started to hear cries of hands up, don't shoot, being black is not a crime. And then that crowd started marching. Tonight, There were also people out there with messages against the police. We observed that as well. Now, as for where that mood shifted, I started to notice law enforcement in tactical gear. As we got closer to the epicenter, people started going inside. But it was when that crowd marched into the Omni Hotel and started to go inside of the hotel, or attempted to, that's when the situation got completely out of control. At that point, it was complete chaos. Now, when I spoke with one of the protesters earlier today, here's why he said he was out there marching.
For the simple fact that we have terrorists in this country that we were taken alive. Even, I come from a military family. My father served in the Army. My younger brother is in the Army now. If we have protocol for apprehending, even terrorists, overseas, and why is it that because you can say that you had a gun in the car?
And again, that was really before things just took a completely different turn. We were actually outside of the Omni as well when those shots were fired. At that point, I didn't know what it was because there was just so much chaos.
Yeah.
We were just trying to get to safety at that point.
Did you feel safe, Deshawn?
I did not. Honestly, in that moment, you just didn't know what was going to happen next, so the mood was just so spontaneous. And there were people genuinely trying to protest and trying to put forth the message, but then there were also people that brought a different energy, and it was hard to tell where was safe at that point.
Okay. Thanks, Deshawn.
Deshawn, thank you. Now, we have just confirmed that one officer tonight has been transported to the hospital according to CMPD. We assume transported to the hospital because of an injury, but we don't know how serious. So we'll try to get more specific information on what a one officer transported exactly means so far. And again, Chopper 9 Sky Zoom live here. You can see over this intersection, you can see the tracks for the streetcar. Right now, people standing in this intersection. We've seen police in riot gear at Trade and Tryon in that general vicinity near the epicenter. We see people here running in front of cars. Cars getting caught up in Uptown, trying to get out of Uptown tonight. So our Chopper 9 Sky Zoom pilot, Andy Holt, has been over the protests for some time. Andy, where are we looking at specifically right now? And it looks like these people, I don't know if they're
surrounding this vehicle?
Either surrounding it or pushing on it. And again, cars getting caught at these intersections are getting very aggressive, and cars are getting stuck there. It looks like they're stuck right around those tracks. Is this near Time Warner Cable Arena?
It is, Scott. This is live pictures you're looking at here. This is the area between the arena and the bus depot, where the main group of protesters are still here. You still see a lot of smaller groups of protesters all around downtown, as well as we've seen a group of police officers that are kind of the bulk of them over there near the epicenter still. But yeah, these group of protesters are still very active downtown.
All right, thanks, Andy. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We are back now live with the second full day of coverage after an officer-involved deadly shooting. And tonight, another person has been shot and killed in Uptown. We're told that was a civilian-on-civilian shooting tonight. And also, we've just learned that at least one officer has been transported to the hospital. We don't know the extent of that officer's injuries. But tonight we are going with Chopper 9 Sky Zoom for this view to bring you an update. We pulled all of our ground crews back to the station for their safety.
But we have Chopper 9 Sky Zoom pilot Andy Holt up in the sky over these protesters. Andy, again, we're seeing traffic coming to this intersection and people standing there. What have you been seeing recently?
That is the intersection there near the arena, Scott, as you were talking about earlier, and they are confronting cars that are going through this intersection. They're hitting some of these cars, stopping them there in the middle of the intersection. And the police are actually just off Trade Street, or down Trade Street rather, from this intersection near the epicenter. So they're in kind of a little bit of ways from this action right here, but still small groups of protesters that are all throughout the city in and around the epicenter. Scott?
Chopper 9 pilot Andy Holt, thanks so much for that different perspective. We see folks on motorcycles as well. We've seen some four-wheelers in Uptown Charlotte as well. Not something you would normally see, but under the circumstances, police have other things as a priority tonight.
Right now, we'll go back to anchor Allison Lottis in the Breaking News Center about a confrontation between the police and the protesters. Our cameras captured that tonight. Allison?
Hundreds of the protesters went back to CMPD headquarters in Uptown Charlotte after dark and pounded on the doors, demanding to speak with someone inside. At one point, CMPD homicide detective Gary McFadden came out to speak with the demonstrators who had gathered on the front steps. He tried to calm down the crowds.
If you believe what you're doing right now, standing on this step, is going to change anything. Why hasn't it changed?
Okay.
Wait.
Just
because don't nothing happen overnight. And the main reason why I'm here, the main reason why I'm here, because all the kids in kindergarten and elementary school, I'm trying to prevent them to have to deal with this 20, 30 years from now. You understand what I'm saying? I'm trying to make sure all these black women still be able to reproduce.
We got somebody out there to talk, and we're trying to get some more people just to talk and open a forum, because the aggressive stuff ain't working no more. We need to be able to have a conversation.
Obviously, it was a very tense situation there outside CMPD headquarters. Detective McFadden spoke with the protesters for nearly 30 minutes until the crowds moved away. Erica?
All right, thank you, Allison. And you heard them there, Scott, saying that they wanted to have a dialogue. And I know over the past 6 months to a year, CMPD has been going to different communities, having those types of conversations and dialogues with people there. They even invited people to call in and schedule one, and that they would come to your neighborhood. So they have been doing that work, and so I know it's disappointing for everyone involved and sad that this has grown to this. And also tonight, this all started with the death of the gentleman yesterday, shot and killed by a police officer, and there's a growing memorial in University City for him.
We want to go to reporter Joe Bruno, who is back out of that neighborhood off Old Concord Road tonight. A very different scene out there tonight, Joe.
And like you were just saying, people want a dialogue. That's exactly what we got in University City tonight. It was the complete opposite scene of what I saw last night in University City. People were coming together to talk about what happened. They were saying prayers and asking for unity. A group of about 30 people came to the spot where Keith Scott was shot and killed. They lit candles and peacefully discussed ways to move forward. This is exactly what family members of Scott wanted. We want to reiterate, his wife released a statement today calling on people to not hurt each other or damage property. She asked people to protest peacefully. And I spoke with neighbors and people who came to the vigil. They said they wanted to honor that request and show the world violence and looting is not the proper way to make a point.
No one person really has the answer. My only advice is that we all really need to look at each other as human beings.
And I spoke with University City partners as well. They told me they were prepared for more protests and riots tonight. Luckily, we did not have any of that. Very peaceful demonstrations in University City.
So two completely opposite scenes.
Absolutely, completely different over the past 30 hours.
Unfortunately, it's all in Uptown tonight, but a good thing for that community on Old Concord Road. And thanks, Joe.
Well, right now we're being told that Mayor Jennifer Roberts is going to move forward in her actions in this case, and she is going to look at dash camera video herself tomorrow. I did have a phone interview with her just a short time before we came on the air, and one of the main things she said is that Charlotte is better than this, and she wants the community to get back to what we know is indicative of our area. Tonight, we know that several stores and businesses have been broken into as well.
Of course, it's a fluid situation. We're still trying to get a full number of how many stores were broken into, but the Hornets have confirmed to us that some people broke into the team store. This is video here at Time Warner Cable Arena. Chopper 9 flew over the scene a short time ago. You can see police on bicycles in front of the team store after that break-in to keep people out. Some stores and businesses have been closed at the epicenter tonight. Again, we don't know how many stores might have been looted or broken into, but we are receiving reports again tonight of at least some damage at businesses in Uptown.
And we know last night there was a Walmart broken into and looted, and a Walgreens as well. So hopefully that aspect does not continue tonight. But again, that report just coming in that tonight the team store for the Hornets has been vandalized.
We're going to take a quick break, and Eyewitness News will be right back.
We're back now live at 10:23 with continuing coverage out of Uptown Charlotte from Chopper 9 Sky Zoom. This live look, you can see the protests and the crowds continue to gather here. Mayor Jennifer Roberts spoke a short time ago, and we learned that she is going to be reviewing dash camera video tomorrow after Mr. Scott was shot and killed yesterday by a police officer. And that escalated into protests that have continued well into tonight, some of them turning violent, even deadly, because just a short time ago, one individual uptown was shot and killed. We're told that was a civilian-on-civilian killing. And tonight we also know that at least one officer has been taken to the hospital with injuries after the skirmishes have erupted uptown.
Oh, we've also got Allison, if we can go back to those pictures real quick. While I mentioned this, she's over in the Breaking News Center, and she just said to me a staff member of Pat McCrory, our governor, said that Putney, the chief of police in Charlotte, is asking the state for help from state troopers so the state can send in its resources to help out tonight. So Allison is over there working to get more information in the Breaking News Center and passing that on to us, and we'll check in with her in just a little bit. Want to go to Chopper 9 pilot Andy Holt, though, as we continue to watch this intersection right now as cars are being stopped here, Andy, by some people in the crowd, but it seems like right now at least folks are just kind of milling around.
Yeah, I think you're right, Scott. This is kind of the focus, though, of where the main bulk of the protesters are still remaining. This is an area between the arena and the bus depot on Trade Street. And as Christy, if you can kind of pan back up towards those police officers there, they're kind of inching a little closer from the epicenter. There's a group of police officers in riot gear that's kind of working their way towards this area, so we're not sure if they're going to involve these protesters here at this point. We've seen them make several arrests from where they are, actually right there, but looks like they're having a little bit of a confrontation there at this area on Trade Street near the epicenter. Scott, Allison.
All right, Andy, thank you so much for that update from your vantage point.
Sorry,
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll return in just a moment.